Blessings at Home. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Today I'm going to continue on in our series of our curriculum for the 2016-2017 school year. And our last video was on spelling, and I really meant to incorporate spelling and vocabulary together, but I completely forgot. So for the last 2 years, we have consistently been using Wordly Wise for our vocabulary. Our spelling program this year, Sequential Spelling, does not have vocabulary included in it. And a couple years before this, we have been using Spelling UC, and it did not have vocabulary words in it either. So this was just an easy way for me to incorporate some vocabulary into their weekly lessons. And so this is not all that we're using this year. I did clump my 6th and my 5th grader together in the same book. Just makes it easier for me to go over and to check their work. And then my 8th grader also has a book, and this is the 2nd grader's book. And they all pretty consistently follow the same pattern. So I will show you. We'll go to the very, very beginning. There is a list of your vocabulary words. And if they have more than one meaning, those are listed there. And then you go on to your weekly activities. So 1A, all throughout the book, 1A is always matching words and their meanings. So you look at the group of words next to the number, and then you circle the letter of the word that has the same meaning. So it gives them a little definition to move up and down, and then they have to pick claw, shelter, flap, groom. And this is excellent for 2nd graders. For the most part, they don't have any trouble doing this independently. Their reading skills have grown quite a bit over the course of this year, so they're able just to read the directions and do this for the most part with themselves. And the second activity is seeing connections. So they're going to look through these words and find the one that quite really doesn't belong with a group. So for this one, for row number 1, it's stool, wall, chair, cushion. And the one that doesn't belong would be wall. And then their next activity is applying the meanings. Which of the following is equal to a yard? And their word is highlighted. That's a vocabulary word, yard. And so 12 inches, a couple, 3 feet, or 0. And then which of the following cannot be shared? And shared, it's highlighted, in bold print. And then they have to pick. So money, shelter, toys, and then 0. And then there is always a passage, like a little reading story. I do read this to them, and I have them do usually like a fun little activity. I'll say, listen for your vocabulary words, and you hear them jump up, or when you hear them put your hand on your head, or when you hear them do a jumping jack, something, I don't know, fun. They're boys. They like to move, so I give them a reason to be listening to kind of keep their minds from wandering. So we read through this story, and again, all your vocabulary words are in bold print, and then there are comprehension questions, and I simply write, we answered it orally. For me, since I'm homeschooling 2 of them, twins, for me, we just do the passage activity, we do it out loud. So, so one day I might write down the answers that they gave in Benjamin's book, and the next week I might write down the answers that they gave in Matthew's book and just go back and forth. But I always note that we did answer those questions orally. And then every few chapters or so there is a review crossword puzzle. And as you can see, for the 2nd grade book, it's very, very simple, very easy. And it will tell you all the words are from lesson 2 except number 9, across. And number 9, across, is the opposite of boy is girl. So, and then we write that in. I could be wrong. In these lessons, in the younger ones, they might have they do. They have a review crossword puzzle at the end of every week in the 2nd grade book. So we'll just take a quick peek at some of the older levels. They will consistently follow kind of the same thing. Again, 1A, here's your list of vocabulary words. This child likes to go through and actually highlight the word and their meaning, because as you can see, there's extra, like they use it in a sentence, and she has some visual processing issues, so she has learned if she just goes through and highlights the actual vocabulary word and their definitions, it helps her visually to go back and find those quickly. So they go through finding the meanings. So here you're given 2 phrases and you're going to find which 2 connect together. So choose 2 phrases to form a sentence that correctly uses a word from word list 1. Write each sentence in the space provided. So for this one, she was given become familiar with, do it carefully, to accustom oneself to something is to, and then to distract oneself by doing something is to. So for her sentence, she joined C and A together. To accustom oneself to something is to become familiar with it, and then they write it on their line. And this is great practice for punctuation and capitalization. I'm kind of been a stickler, especially my older ones will go back and make sure, did you use a capital letter where we needed a capital letter? And did you use correct punctuation at the end? So once they do that, they move on. So their next lesson's activity is called Just the Right Word. And so they are given a sentence, and then in bold print, there's a phrase, and they are going to go through back to their list, and they're going to find which vocabulary could I replace this phrase with. So they expect their children to be willing to do as they were told. And willing to do as they are told is in bold print. And so she put a neat little line through it, and they wrote obedient above it, because obedient is a vocabulary word that would replace the phrase in that sentence. And then the next day, applying the meanings, they are given a question, which of the following could be an obstacle? And then they're supposed to choose from a list of 4 things. Sometimes there's just one, sometimes there's multiple answers. So on here it would be a lack of money, poor eyesight, a fallen tree, a pleasant voice. And sometimes my children, I've noticed, they kind of pick, well, which one would be the worst obstacle to overcome, and they just circle that, and they move on. So I occasionally have to go back and remind them, hey guys, there's more than one answer. There's more than one option here. So she circled a fallen tree and poor eyesight. But being a child that doesn't have to worry about money, she didn't circle that a lack of money would be an obstacle. And then going on, word study. So up here, they're addressing synonyms. Circle the 2 words in the row that are similar, synonyms. And then here they're addressing antonyms. So they would find the opposites and circle them. And so those do include vocabulary words in with them as well. And then they have a passage, just like they did in the 2nd grade book. We choose, a lot of times we will skip these, but occasionally we'll come and do them together orally in a group. It's just not something that I require. We do a 4-day school week. So, and each lesson or each week has 1A, 1B, C, D, and E. And we just don't get to the E. I could, double up on some days, but I just don't. Sometimes at the end of the year, we'll go back as a review, we'll go back and redo the passage lessons. But they're learning, they're doing great. This has been an easy thing to incorporate into our school day. They do it very independently. Nobody really enjoys doing vocabulary, but the activities are not rigorous and they're easy for the children to do. My 2nd graders actually really enjoy it. But their favorite part is the passage, when we read through the passages and they get to jump up and down or do something silly whenever they hear their vocabulary words. So that's it for today. That is our vocabulary curriculum for 2016-2017, and it was also the vocabulary curriculum that we used last year as well. So thank you so much for watching. I hope that everyone is having a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.